We are continuing tonight our ongoing series ahead of this month's municipal election. We are talking to candidates who find themselves in a very unusual position this time around. Now that council has been cut to 25 seats, city councillors who have long been colleagues and even friends are now political foes, competing against one another for their jobs. And tonight we are joined by two popular incumbents running in the newly formed Ward 22, Jim Karygiannis and Norm Kelly. Thank you both so much for being here on a Thanksgiving Sunday.
Thank you for having us. Everybody, happy Thanksgiving.
This has got to be, I think it's fair to say, a very different election for you both. I mean, in the past, you probably would have expected to cruise to victory without campaigning very hard at all. Is that fair to say?
Well, this isn't the first time that I've faced off against an incumbent. I did that in 2000.
Right.
It's a little different. I represented this ward in the riding as a federal member of parliament for 26 years. So I don't find myself in a new territory. I know the territory from north to south, from east to west. I represented the people, and I always had hard-fought battles, and I always won.
What are you doing to distinguish yourselves? I mean, I think you are, it's fair to say that you are at least fairly similar politically, like-minded. Have you had debates? Have you been really pounding the pavement, getting out to your constituents, or what?
Probably the latter, pounding the pavement, knocking and talking. I think that there is a difference in style, among other things. I respect the people that I work with. I understand that there's always the possibility of reaching a common goal, and whether we agree or not, at least we do so in a way that promotes the interests of the city, and I think the best example of that style of working with people, trying to establish common goals and having a city interest in mind was the time that I spent as the city's deputy mayor.
Right. Jim?
I've always made one promise to my constituents: I will return their phone calls, if not immediately, within 24 hours. I've been doing that. Long track record of representing the people of Scarborough-Agincourt. Always had their trust and always was returned to office, and I'm looking forward to continue working with them. Now, you know, Norm talks about being the deputy mayor. Anybody could have done that job when, Rob Ford was put aside. Anybody could have risen to the task. And, you know, I represented the city when I was the federal member of parliament throughout the city. When we had, you know, when we lost after Mr. Ignatieff, I was the community and stakeholders outreach for the party, and I represented, and I was going from east to west, north and south. So the city is not used to me. And being the advocate for newcomers in the city of Toronto, that has 57, you know, 50+% of ethnic minorities, I work with them. I know them. I've been there in the trenches with them, and I've always responded when there was need and a call for it.
Jim, I want to ask you about something. In the summer, you tweeted when Norm celebrated his birthday, which, may I say, how old you turned? No, it's no secret.
No, not at all.
Norm turned 77. You made a point of saying how old he was turned. Was that any kind of a dig?
No, absolutely not.
Suggesting?
This was happy birthday to Norm, my colleague and a friend.
Did you think?
He's repeated that. He's actually said in radio and TV interviews that I'm too old. And I would have thought that ageism...
I don't think age is a different. It has any point to do, Norm. And definitely, you know, I mean, I respect you and I respect you as a friend and a colleague. We sit beside each other, but there's a difference in our style.
I would have thought that ageism, like sexism, would be a relic of the past. And it's frankly disappointing to see it emerge in this election.
Were you stung by that?
I'm disappointed that you bring this up. I mean, somebody wishes you a happy birthday and you take an exception to it.
It's not outside of the standard that he set in the past.
You know, like, we have different styles. My style is being responsive to my constituents. My style is responding to their needs and wishes. That's the difference the style is.
Well, if we're talking about youthfulness, I mean, many could argue that Norm is more youthful certainly than me in many ways. If we just look at Twitter alone. Jim, you have a very respectable 5,000 Twitter followers, I believe. This guy has got 750,000 followers, almost.
Tweet our account and
you don't
think
that's a disadvantage to you?
It is not a disadvantage or an advantage. What happens when a constituent calls? You respond to them. I've got things that are right now in Mr. Kelly's ward when I'm going by and people are telling me, we called, we never got an answer. Would you help us?
Would you say it is an advantage to you? I mean, you probably have greater name recognition than almost anybody else on council.
I would...
There's one vote that counts, and that's election night. We can do anything we want. We can have Twitter. We can have anything else. But nothing happens. I mean, we have to talk about transit, and we have to talk about...
Did you just ask me a question?
If you think it's an advantage, having that many Twitter followers.
I think it's a marginal advantage. Young people historically have been left outside of the political process. And I think in the last federal election, it indicated they were becoming more aware and more involved, so, yeah. And I'm finding that at the door as well. And in defense of the service that I've given my constituent over the years, my staff, a veteran staff, has one of the best reputations at City Hall. And I believe that service to constituents is very, very important, and that's why in Ward 40, Scarborough-Agincourt, my office and myself are held in such high esteem.
I almost am afraid to wade into the transit debate because we only have about a minute left. But you both support the one-stop extension from Kennedy to Scarborough Town Centre, yes? If the province uploads the TTC, presumably all these decisions are going to be taken out of council's hands. Any power is going to be removed and disappear. Do you favor uploading the TTC to the province?
I think it's worth looking at seriously, because one of the major challenges that the city faces is that it can't afford to act strategically. It can plan strategically for a subway system across the city, but it doesn't have the money. It needs the funding partners, the province and the feds, to come on board.
It'd be nice to have the money, but
that's the key is the money. But I would like the province to tell me how they would, first of all, what system would they create? How would they fund it, and what timelines?
Jim, last word.
It's interesting that Norm's saying this. We need to build the subway along Shepherd. The one-stop subway is south of the 401. People north of the 401, my constituents, not need to be treated as second-class citizens. And I have to tell you, when I was 21 years a member of Parliament, representing the same area with Norm never reached to me and say, is there any federal funding to build the Shepherd subway? I was the Parliamentary Secretary of Transport, and this is where the money was between 2003 2006, radio silence.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm surprised that I would have to ask him when he was in a position to offer it.
We have to wrap it up, gentlemen. This is a never-ending debate. Never-ending.
And the Shepherd subway, I have to tell you, is the subway that I voted for as a Metro councillor and have never stopped supporting it.
You know, there's to do the talking and do the walk. Unfortunately, there's a lot of talk and no walk. So let's do the walk. Let's make sure people of Scarborough-Agincourt have their say. And to everybody, happy Thanksgiving over this weekend.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving dinner whenever you get to have it. And thanks again so much to both of you for being here. We're going to be doing this a couple more times before the Torontonians go to the polls. And that, of course, is coming up on October 22nd.